Hello, good afternoon everyone. Today we are here to discuss about research paper writing. This is part 1. We will discuss part 2 and that would be about flag and publications. So let's wait for like a minute or so that you can have a proper everyone can join. Good afternoon to you too. Yes. Sure. Let's start. Yeah. So research paper writing is basically is my voice audible to everyone? Okay. So let's start. Research paper writing is basically your planning of your thesis statement. So basically, you are just having a statement of your own. You have a thesis of like 200 pages. You need to compile that into like 3,000 words. So that's why you need research paper. So and for sometimes one. You need a proper you need one publication of yours so that you can complete your degree. So that is when research paper writing is important. That's why it's a UGC norm, so that's why we need research paper writing. So research paper writing can be divided into three portions. It's planning, research, and writing. You need to plan your research, and you need to what exactly are you going to write. So these kind of plannings you need. Research is basically what you had done in your thesis statement. So that is your research portion, what you had answered. And the writing portion is basically what exactly are you writing and what exactly are the contributions of your writing that would change the research world, or that what you are contributing to them. So, what is a research paper? Research paper is basically your concise way of writing your thesis statement. So, let's understand what exactly your research paper would cover and what exactly are you going to answer in that. So, research paper is basically your research question. What exactly had you been answering in that topic of yours, your thesis statement? What had you answered in your thesis statement? And what engagement of your primary and your secondary sources, what exactly are your contribution to that scientific world. So these things to be is your research paper would do. So like I was saying, research paper writing can be done in three stages. So first thing is research and planning, next thing is writing, and third thing is revision. Revision is the most important part. Research and planning is the second and most important part. The most important part is writing. Writing we'll discuss in this order: research paper, research and planning, and the next thing is writing. Next thing would be revision. So let's yeah. So somebody is asking, Chandan is asking about what exactly can you need why can you need a guide for your research paper writing? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It depends upon you or your guide. Totally perfect when you don't if you don't need your guide or so. Yeah. Yes, Chandana, as I was saying about you need guide sometimes or not. You just need to plan accordingly how much you are taking responsibility for your writing. It's totally dependent upon you. So let's continue with research and planning. So research and planning is basically your research and what exactly are you planning to do with your research work, and how you are going to write about that. So is your results writing, your methodology and your LR part. You are just plan making make sure you are planning properly. So let's understand what how you are going to plan your research writing. So the first thing is understanding your assignment, how you are understanding your assignment, how much you are contributing to the what exactly are you answering in your research question. So make sure you have a deadline. If you don't have a deadline, so make try to have your own deadlines. Likewise, set up a deadline for like an introduction. I would write an introduction in a week or so, and after that for Ella part the same, and likewise plan your deadlines as well. So try the word counts. Generally, we aim for like 3,000 words. So try to have a vision of like 3,000 words without references. Don't include references in that. So try to have a word count aiming. So make sure you have a vision of like 5,000 words, and while you are revising your first draft, so you would cut out to like 2,000 words so that you would have a proper aiming thing or your concising process in order. So next thing is your goal of the assignment. What exactly are you answering in your assignment or your question? What is the question? Likewise, take an example of like I am making a pizza. Okay, so you need the ingredients. You need all that base and the mozzarella and what kind of other all procedures and other veggies. So and that you have all that thing, how you are going to assemble that is your assignment. How you are writing all that process is your, how you are making that pizza of yours is your goals. So next thing is what topics are you about to write in that assignment of yours. So within the statement there is always a there is always subtopics included in that. Try to have subtopics out of your research question. Likewise, what is able to, what are your research question answering, and what exactly are the associations including in that thesis statement. The subheadings you use in your thesis statement can be written and in your thesis in your research paper. Don't copy paste all that, because thesis is already a published assignment. So try to have proper writing skills while you are writing your research paper. So next thing is choosing a topic. How you are defining or narrow down your topic. Try to have a proper vision of narrowing of your topic. Try to be specific. Most of the time when you are just um, having a broad vision of the topic is generally not being clearly assembled. So it's bulky or it's blurry vision. With blurry vision, the topic is generally much more complicated afterwards before it's coming to your mind. So try to have a clarifying image and a specific order of your topic specifications. Likewise, take an example. Likewise, take your problem, your research question you're answering, and your methodology you has used, and the what is the issue you are answering. So try to answer in that order. I used to generally use this and I used to follow this. The next thing is given try to have a listing process or listing choices, so that afterwards you are answering your question with your choices. Sometimes your guide have no time, so he says, choose your own topic and just tell me about it afterwards, when you are having a proper assemblation of your research paper. So have a concept of your research as well, of your guide as well, and answer accordingly. Try to have his vision and your vision mixed up, and um, try to prioritize his vision first, afterwards yours. Consider what you are covering on the course and follow your curiosity. You are just not answering your question, you are just following your thesis work. So try to have that in order accordingly. So the next thing is, what exactly are you how you are doing your research work. So start exploring the literature, what you had done, what had other researchers had done, what exactly are they answering, and how much your research and their research related. So try to explore all that topics as well. Use books, journals, and other reliable sources, likewise NCBI, Google Scholars, and other internet sources. Consider a variety of perspective. Try to have a perspective of like a versatile version of yours. Try to be very what do you call it, flexible, and don't be judgmental while you are reading in the literature other of others. Try not to have try to be positive, because other researchers had done some work, some complications of the works, and you are resolving that issue. So what exactly is their perspective? Try to have that perspective uh, of in a positive way. So these things to be keep in mind. Use your reading to inform your arguments. Try to answer in a very informative way, because when you are arguing, when you are answering the questions in argumentations, you are just promoting your research work in that order. So try to have that vision in a very assembled way, so that you will be not being complicated for the readers to understand. Keep notes of the resource, use sources details, and sources, what exactly had been the answering, what exactly other that researchers had answered, and try to have notes out of that. And use useful quotations. Try to write quotations of try to make sure you are reading that perspective very clearly, and take out some quotations out of that literature as well. So next thing is primary versus secondary. Primary sources are basically your direct first-hand evidence, basically your what exactly had you answered, and what exactly provided symmetry given to you. So that is your analysis or your secondary sources. Primary sources is basically your journal articles, or your likewise, take an example of that. Cambridge novel is your primary source. This is also primary source. So these things to be keep in mind. What exactly are the primary sources? The these are the primary sources. What exactly? Journal articles is your secondary sources. Primary sources basically your interview transcripts, works of the art or literature, historical documents, statistical data. These are your primary sources. Secondary sources are your journal articles, scholarly books, reviews of the others. That is your secondary sources. So, um, the next thing is you're evaluating your credibility according to the CRAAP test. What exactly a CRAAP test is saying, that is currency, relevance, authority, accuracy, and the purpose of your research writing. So, try to evaluate your data of your research according to the CRAAP test. The Currency is the basically here we are not talking about the money or something. Currency is basically what exactly information of yours is up to date or not. That is your currency. Relevance, how much relevance is your research to your relevant to your research. Is it relevance to your research? How much is your, how much you're relying to that? How much authority of that is your, who is the author, and where is it published? These kind of things to be answered to be more informative. Accuracy is where does the information come from, how much you are taking that information, as you are if you are not giving that person the citations, or you are not giving that person credit, the author credit, these kind of accuracies to be checked. And the purpose of the information, why was this information published, what exactly are you going to answer, and why, what is the purpose basically, what is the importance of that information, why you are spending so much time in your research. So this is the purpose you are explaining at as well. How you are formulating a thesis statement. State your central argument. What exactly is your argument, your research question you are answering in that. Answer your research question. How you are concise. You, just follow the three triple C: concise, continuous, and coherent. Just be concise, continuous, and coherent, so that you are able to have a proper uh, assemblation of the process. Because I was I'm saying a thesis can be a thesis of like 200 pages. You can't read 200 pages in a day. You need 2 to 3 days to read a thesis in a proper way. So that's why we need research papers for the concise portion of your thesis. Guide your arguments. Have a proper planning, like I was saying, and while you are having a proper knowledge about your assignment, your understanding, you are able to make a proper argumentations. What exactly are you answering? Likewise, take an example of the COVID situation, the vaccination which is currently providing, how you are in the favor, why you are in the favor, and why you are not supporting that, is basically your arguments. You are planning your statement, you are taking reviews from the others who had already taken that, and who are not being in that age or something. So these things to be make proper um, arrangements accordingly. Likewise, make sure you are outlining your structure. What exactly are you going to write in your research paper? Organize your thoughts. Just don't be so mushy in your thoughts, so that it would be a khichdi in your mind. Try to be very concise and organize your knowledge. Organize your, likewise, assembling your thesis or your project work, your vision, so that you would be having a stationary way of writing your ideas to be related. Don't make much out of everything. Just don't jump to one thing to another. Try to have a proper flow in your assignment when you are writing. Ensure nothing is forgotten while you are writing while your thesis was like 200 pages. You can't just write in like 3,000 words in just one go. So try to have a proper listing of what exactly to be written, what exactly you want to cover in your research paper. So so that you won't be able to skip that part of your writing. So next thing is writing. What exactly are you going to write? So likewise, like I was saying, so try how you are going to write your introduction. What is your paper about? Introduce that topic. along with the key terms and ideas. What exactly are the key terms and ideas behind that introduction of yours? What exactly is your vision? What exactly is your perspective while you have that research question in your mind? So these things to be written in that flow. Why is your proper paper worthwhile? Why why is your paper um, be readable by the other researchers? Because there are many other thoughts, many other researchers who have been doing these kind of projects of same project of yours. Why is your project so important that other researcher would read your paper? So try to have that insights of that you would are going to offer, so that other researchers would have some impact out of your research. Why is your research so much important? So these things to be answered in that. And how you will make your arguments, and why give some signposting about the structure of the paper. The research question is basically your is divided into two components. Pico is your patient population. How much is your how you are, how much your problem, how much, what is the problem, what is the how much is there any patients regarding it? You are talking about a disease or something. You are talking about the particular population, north population, south population, or any European or any Indian population. These kind of things to be answered in a Pico formulation. Intervention, I is intervention. How much you are linking your how much is your research related, and what is the appropriate or comparisons are you doing any comparisons between that? What is the outcome that you are measuring in that procedure? So these things to be answered in proper manner. So the pico is, take an example. In a female patient with stress, there is a comparison between transpirator and retropubic. So this is a surgery, this is the intervention. What is exactly had you done, or the methodology that has been used, and the patient satisfaction is basically your outcome. So these things to be understandable. What exactly are you answering in your research question? What exactly had you answered in your research question? These things to be written in your research paper. So what exactly, how you are going to write your research body? That is basically your LR, your methodology, and your result and discussion portion. How much you are editing your arguments, how much your arguments are satisfying, or each paragraph and sections covers one idea or the other idea. How much you are jumping from one step to another. How did you covered up your how why you had reached to this perspective of yours, and what exactly are you covering all that, and what exactly had you concluded afterwards. So these things to be make sure you are answering each and everything in a steady way. You are not jumping from one conclusion to another. So try to read or the other arguments properly. Paragraph structuring, try to follow the outline to be made by yours. Don't just copy paste out of others. Try to have your thesis in your mind and use topic sentences. Try to have a proper formulation of your keywords and your top subtopics, and make effective transitions. Make effective transitions is basically your terminologies. Writing the conclusion. While you are writing, don't make arguments. No new arguments or evidence to be needed. So summarize your argument. Just summarize your argument. Central point. What exactly are you summarized, and what exactly had your vision, and reflect on limitations. What exactly are the limitations? Why you were doing your research, and suggest areas for further research. Taken well, likewise you taken 50 samples or 100 samples. There is a scope afterwards when you take 150 samples or more. So try to have that in your vision. while you are formulating your conclusion, try to have why is there any solution you are giving, is there any formulation of your risk is to make, or you are risking any for majority of your voting or your decision. So these things to be answered in a proper uh, conclusion portion. Indeed, a well-performed large-scale study and a weakly designed one area are weighed on the same scale. This sentence is clearly saying so much. A well-performed large-scale study. When you are performing a large-scale study, you are not compiling all that in a proper manner. So it's a proper misbalanced kind of formulation. Try to avoid that. Try to have a proper um, steady formulation. So don't be a figurative way. Likewise, just have a steady way. While you are doing a meta-analysis or solving a parent problem or a disease problem or any focused formulations, try to just be very uh, qualitative. Don't be quantitative. When you are just answering your answering your research question, you just try to focus on what exactly is the perspective you are answering in that. Just don't over jump or don't overdo anything while you are writing all that. Well, in conclusion, there is a variety of what do we call it? Very variety of decisions while which should come in your mind. But just try to have a proper just try to have a proper obsession of your fixed ideas, of your interventions, of your perspectives. Don't take large perspective or don't take over visions of the others. Just try to have your vision in that conclusion. Just don't be a very subjective kind of a way. Just try to have a proper vision of yours. Just try to have a proper conclusion while you are writing that perspective, and uh, just complete that in your approative way. Just don't copy paste from somewhere else, and try to have a research methodology, and your literature research articles um, with a critical attitude, with a methodological way. What exactly is your methodology doing, or what exactly had your methodology answered? So try to have that vision after your answering. And finally, data should be explained in a very attractive way when you are answering that in a very formulative way. Sorry for the network issue. Yeah, good afternoon. Sorry. So, as I was saying, I was talking about references. So, let's continue. So, when you talk about references is basically your first or second party or your third party. You are giving the literacy, or you had taken the literacy knowledge from that. You're giving them credit. So it's five type of references we majorly use. Generally, we use AP and MLA and Chicago most oftenly. And Harvard and Chicago is Vancouver is generally very rarely used by some institutions, and Harvard is used by many institutions, by private or institutions. Generally journal for journal publications you used APA, Chicago, or MLA mostly. So try to use APA in your research paper writing first of all, because many of the journals ask you for APA citations. So what exactly are the APA citations? Is basically your surname, author initials, then all the authors, the year name, the year, the journal title of the journal name, volume, volume, volume number, and your page numbers. So APA is basically your style. APA is the style of the documentation of the sources. That is American Psychological Association. This form of writing is basically used for psychological, social sciences, psychology, anthropology, sociology, as well as education and other fields. So APA is majorly used. MLA is a referencing style that is called works cited, is used in essays and detailed list. It's a brief in-text citations. Generally use surname, initial of the name, middle name, and the surname name. Et al is basically representing there are more than one authors, and title of the article, and then the journal name, the volume number, year, the volume pages. Chicago is basically two parts of referencing, that is text of your paper and the reference list at the end of the paper. Chicago is generally author date styling. So herein the author name, the author surname, the author name, there's a whole author name, middle name is initials, and the title of the paper, journal title, volume number, year, the page numbers. Harvard is basically author date method in this. Surname, initials, then the year, then the title, journal name, volume number, page numbers. Vancouver is basically either in line or within the text brackets using superscripts, which they appear as. So Vancouver are styled as this: surname, the title page, title of the journal. There in one edition, there is the date, volume number, page numbers. So the citations basically how to cite or how to reference in between. So that is cite all the ideas, concept you had taken. That is not your own. So if you are making a statement, back it up with your own data or a reference, because you need justifications, right? You can't just say this is my own. So until unless you didn't did the research over that article which you had taken from the other researchers, try to reference them as well. So single author citations, likewise this, use this or this. Double author citations can be written as this way or this way, both. Don't use footnotes. So how to write abstract? Abstract is basically a very important point of writing. In a medical sciences, the point of review articles, the importance of review articles is increasing. So research paper writing as well. So try to use proper knowledge or the guidelines or of the journals, what they are specifications are for the authors. So try to keep that in mind and try to write that in their specifications. And the value of the of your abstract is very important, because first reader always reads abstract, because it's the building block of your research paper. So try to write abstract as a very concise way of your research paper. So try to write that in a proper manner. And before asking how, the question is why it is important. Because abstract is generally telling you about the research you are answering in that research paper. So try to answer that in first analogy in your methodology. What is exactly your aim? What your exactly the research question was? You had answered. So that is your abstract. And the main and fundamental process of writing is the synthesis of the literature. Is so much important. What exactly the research question or the research question or the current area of the research you are answering, and the idea of your research. So how you are how uh, because when the other readers would be reading, though that person would be identifying that if your research is so much impactful, what exactly are the judgmentals of the other person's identifying, or the other person's research point of view. So this is a very important question. So while you were making your analysis, you would be also reading this abstract. So try to make that as well. Abstract reading, abstract writing, good review, good writing methods can be needs to be very unbiased way, because other current reader or the other reader who would be reading your research would be very complicated for the other researcher if you are not making a concise or a systematic, fashionable way. And the other people would not be able to understand what exactly your research is about. So writing abstract is crucial. The ideal way of synthesizing or writing ideologically is a very critical approach. So try to have a very concise way of your writing while you're synthesizing your abstract. Try to have keywords. Likewise, in this paragraph, there is how to write, review, and the writing process are the main keywords. Order of your writing. First is an introduction. Introduce your topic and your rationality. What exactly and why exactly is your topic important? Clarify the definitions. What exactly are you describing about? What exactly are the outlines? What exactly are you giving a reader to read, or the background information that needs to be coming up in the other sections? So these type of analogy to be followed. What exactly a body is your LR, and your methodology, and your discussion part. So try to be concise and have subtopics in um, each and every perspective which you would be answering in your research. So try to have a proper review of your questioning, being that you are answering in each and every order. For example, if you are reviewing different methodology, you might divide the body of the article into three sections, each discussing one of the methods. So that would be easier for the other person which you would be analyzing, or which you would be explaining in a further notifications. Likewise, you had used three different methods of your own, and you are describing that in different manner or different fashion. So next thing is how you are describing your own research, and how you are evaluating uh, the study and the study design and analysis intention, or that how you are treating the compulsion, or the how you are relating, how you are just making sure you are just analyzing. So where were we? We're discussing about order of the writing. In this section, you need to be very sure when while writing your methodology section, that you are just not just explaining things here. You are just focusing upon um, the analogy or the intentions of yours, and the intentions of the the implications, or your study design, or what is the comparison that you had been using while you are writing your analogy or your perception in your study designing. So try to have that research methods in your focused up and evaluate that properly. So when you are writing about the conclusion portion, you need to develop a concise or a brief manner of how you are relating the other reviews and your purpose of your article and discussing what conclusion you had drawn. Don't write the other person's point of view. Just write what exactly did you find out from your research, and how that review finding of yours would help other researchers in the field of yours, so that you they would have a conclusive or a further research period of finding out afterwards. How you are citing your literature is using a standardized referencing style or referencing system. We generally use in medical is AP or AMA is the same styling. So try to use that as well. So the next thing is abstract. An abstract should be approximately 200 to 300 pages or 300 words. Sorry. Provide a brief summary of the review. What exactly is your conclusion? What is you were addressing, and what exactly are the reviews? The major study that you are reviewing, and what conclusion had you drawn out of that abstract? And please do not cite referencing in the abstract, because there is no referencing in the abstract portions. Try to avoid that. So next thing is title page. Your title of the reflecting topic of your review, and your name and the date. So these things to be written afterwards. The first draft is basically what your first manuscript turns out turn ideas into arguments. Try to have a conclusive or a concise way of your thesis drafting. Maintain forward momentum. Try right now, perfect later. Likewise, which things are coming to your mind, likewise write it down. Think Make adjustment afterwards. Try to write first what the points or the statements which come first in the mind are generally didn't didn't left for too long. So just try to have that in written as well, so that you wouldn't skip that part afterwards. And express yourself clearly. What exactly is your research question you are answering? Try to have or answer that in a proper manner. Be prepared to be flexible, because your research work is totally appropriate. You know that, but other researchers don't know that. The other researcher is already doing that research or the same study you would be doing from like 2 months or 3 years. So try to be a concise or a flexible way of thinking of it, of their perspective as well. What exactly are they uh, being undergone doing that, the research of that, and how you had followed that research is totally up to you, or your guide, or your circumstances, or the surroundings around you, and what exactly was your research being saying. So that things to be kept in mind. The funding of that researcher, and other points the which was the impact of that research. So these things to be keep in mind before reading or drafting your research as well. Cite your resources. Try to cite those references or the literacy knowledge that you has used from the other researchers. Try to cite that as well. So the next thing is revision. So here, before going to revision section, let's answer some of the questions by some of the students. So the first question is how how lengthy should LR be? Give some insight on what the major points added to be review of each paper and how it should be organized. Likewise, I was saying order of writing I had mentioned. Write your abstract at last. Try to have your introduction at first and your body at next, and the next is your conclusion at third, and fourth portion is your abstract. Try to write in this organized manner. Afterwards, your title, date, and everything. And is it really hard to write proper conclusion? No, it's not really right. Just write your perspective, your knowledge, what you had learned from your research. Just answer that only. And appealing with reference to the results and discussions, right? Or in result and discussion sections, you generally result section is your section. I don't think result section would be compared anyways, but discussion section is generally to be written in likewise with references. You compare your study with the others, so that it would be a very thorough way of saying your statement is right. Likewise, I used to compare my study with the other researchers who had already done that research in the same period. So I used to do that. So tell us how to connect these in a wise way. Shanu, Shanu, Shanmuka Priya, you are saying how to how to connect in a wise way. Likewise, I was saying research paper is not that tough to be written if you are writing in a proper manner. So try to have a proper concise way of your thesis and what exactly is your research question or your research answer you are answering. During COVID situation, what are the virtual means to write articles or publish research papers? COVID situation is not changing for a while now. I think virtual means are increasing as well. So while you're writing this your research paper, try to use LaTeX or for your writing, or MS or Google Docs would do just fine. And for publishing your research paper, there are many journals which charge no fee for publications. So try to have that in your mind. Most of the Scopus journals charge, but there are many other journals which don't charge you a penny, so you can publish there as well. So while uh, while I'm saying about that, there are many other questions coming up from the other end. So we are just answering up before going to the revision section. So there are some other researchers who are asking. Sorry. Some other researchers are asking. Ruchi is asking, please provide some info about paper publication and UGC approved journal names for the same. Uh, Ruchi, we will be discussing publication and journals in the next part 2 section. So hope you would be there in with us, and we'll be discussing more about publication and journals which are approved from Scopus. How I would be teaching I about how to find your Scopus journal in your field. So that would be easier for you to understand. So next thing is how to publish a paper in high impact journals, life sciences. So this is not tough enough. So high impact journals are generally the journals, Scopus journals, which are providing you for the same for the sake of your knowledge. So how much your research is impacting the research world is basically your high impact journals are more interested in. So high impact journals publications is not that tough. So we were discussing all these aspects in part 2 section after the second webinar of ours. So the next thing is next question you are asking is Fusia, how to know the research gaps in the research proposal, proposed research work, right? So while there are for finding the research gaps, generally go for a conclusion section or the future perspective of that research paper. That would be easier for you to understand the research gaps which they had missed out or they hadn't been working out. So that in that way it would be easier to find your research gap. How to get citations for a research paper? um, for the citations, that would be easier for you to understand while when you go for Google sections, Google Scholar, go there and type some keywords and find the research articles according to that. There are two inverted commas in below the title, and you would be say able to see the citations over there, how many citations are there, and so that way you can get citations when you would be citing other researchers work. So the next thing is Vishal is asking, guide us some about SCIJ, is basically science and index journals. We were discussing more about publications and um, flag about in part 2 section. So we continue with us after in the second webinar as well. Referencing style, I had already talked about referencing style K, so try to read that up in that section. We would be sharing this PPT with you guys after that. So Tripati is asking about current thrust areas relate to IT. So I'm not from the IT background. I am from biosciences. So I will be discussing all these current thrust areas. You can find your thrust areas in your relating journals. So try to have your some keywords and go to Google Scholars and find research gaps. After that, in that trending areas or trending knowledgeable, you would be finding in that research gaps and research future perspectives. Find your um, general research gaps over there. How to start writing as a fresher? Start writing as a fresher is not difficult, Sarnaya. So try to have a proper vision of your research and your analogy, your formulation of your research, and what exactly are you publishing in your research paper is more important than writing. Writing can be done in a proper manner in that as well. When English is not so good, then how to write? Besides, there are many tools which can help you with the English tool, that is Grammarly. There is one tool called Grammarly. You can use that for your English paper difficultations. So I hoped I have answered many of the questions. How to do nursing assignments? What is PLAG? Okay, so these kind of questions to be answered in the second webinar. Please don't ask these kind of questions. How to provide them reference? How to provide them reference? Mayuri is asking, reference is basically you are citing other researchers. So try to have proper citations in a proper formulations. Uh, how to choose a topic? Shivani is asking. Shivani, you can go in the formulation back of how to choose a topic. Here in the slide number I had discussed about in slide number 8. You can study about that in that how to do. So yeah, the next thing is how to avoid flag 100%. Yeah, I will be discussing all that. While to avoid flag 100% is basically you are writing your originality. Flag is basically how much original you are writing. So if you are writing your own without taking any reference from any other researchers, or you're writing your own words, so you're avoiding flag totally. Difference between review paper and research paper: review paper is basically you are reviewing other researchers work and writing that. In research paper you are writing your own work, so this is the major difference. Have included LR any new formulations used? No, LR is to be written or to be read in accordingly to uh, your knowledge. So Ashwina, that is basically very important while you are reading your. I hope I have answered each and every question. Let's continue with the revision section. So the revision is basically covered in can be can be stepped up in like four ways: evaluating, redrafting, editing, and proofreading. Evaluating, let's understand it one by one. Evaluating is basically how you are analyzing or how much changes you need to do in your evaluation section, and what had you analyzed in that. Evaluating your first draft is basically you're lining up your vision of the paper. You had your whole paper in your hand. You find out, is there anything missing, is everything clear, or would there be any structural changes you need, or should anything to be cut out, or is the word limit appropriate. So these things to be covered in evaluation section. What is redrafting? Redrafting I had already talked about. Likewise, there is a poem of Shakespeare, you don't know each and every word, you need some of the changes in that. Likewise, there is a though word, thy word. So you need a change or a replacement of that paper is basically redrafting your changes. Redrafting is prioritizing the biggest changes, reformulation of the arguments, recorder information, reordering the information. Likewise, you don't you think the first section should come at the last, and the second section should come at the first. These kind of reordering arrangements are to be made out and reordering, and made cuts and additions is redrafting as well. So yeah. Editing is basically your checking grammarly, or your spelling checking, or any other changes you need. Fix grammatical errors, improve sentence structuring, more clarifying sentences, remove difficult sentencing, avoid repetitions. There is repetition in the sentences, you need to avoid that. So this is what. The next thing is proofreading. Proofreading is basically your uh, rereading, or the spelling, or any confusion of the words, punctuation errors, missing of excess spaces, stylistic consistency, example, capitalizing, formulating, referencing, resourcing. The next thing is your resources. Who are your resources? You're a teacher, your professor, your research librarians, writing centers, Wikipedia, academic databases. Academic databases is basically your Google Scholars or Google, which are helping you while you are writing your data. Style guides, MLA, APA, Chicago. These are your resources which you are using for your research paper writing. So while you need to make a proper checklist what you are exactly going to do in your research paper writing. So these checklists, your checklist is made at the first, and while you're doing each and everything, just make sure you are taking each and every perspective of writing. So yeah, checklist is basically your paper. Does your paper fulfill all the requirements you were asking for? You had done. So you need to make sure. If not, you would be doing it all again. And if you are unsure, you need to check it by some evaluating faculty of yours, your teacher, your guide, would be helping you. Just go for the introduction portion, just go for the proofreading, go for the editing section again. Just think what exactly are you missing in that point. Did you stick to the topic that fits the assignment? While you are doing your research work, you need to stick to what you are doing. Just go with the flow, with the steady flow. Don't go with the mushy flow, or somewhere which you are not going in appropriate manner. So just go with the flow, with the appropriation of the credibility of your um, assignment, of your research. Are your sources credible, reliable, and logical? So make sure you are taking credible sources. Your researchers are if their research is reliable or not, they are logically appropriate or not. Look at the 3 steps and 4 steps reflecting your research. So make sure you are having a clear vision about the arguable thesis statement. For help with the thesis statement, if is they proper organized in a logical way that is easy to understand when we thinking about, when you have a proper formulation or outline of the structure, when you have a proper formulation, then you need to go check, then you double check, you triple check what exactly had you missed in your structure formulation. Did any plagiarism is there? Did you use plagiarize? Did you plagiarize? So these things to be keep in mind or check twice, thrice before going for publications. Did you proofread for content and grammar improvements and errors? See 8 steps. If if your paper properly formatted, then you need to have a proper clear formulation of the paper. Are you sure you are submitting clear paper, submitting correctly? So before that, just make sure you had a twice, thrice um, review papers or reviewers which had been reading your paper thrice while you were writing the paper. Try to have a proper formal stempulation of the perspective. There, let's talk about some of the frequently asked questions. How to evaluate someone's research and identify potential gaps. While you are evaluating, how to evaluate someone's research, while you are reading someone's readings, or you are having a proper perception, or your presumption what exactly other research has been doing. So you need to have a mix match uh, in formulation of that study, identify the potential gaps, explain the current state of knowledge, what exactly, how to explain the current state of knowledge. Just find out the current, likewise, don't go for like 90s research papers, just go for the current publications. They would have a proper knowledge about that. So try to be updated with your literacy knowledge. How to identify gaps in existing studies for further potential research. For identifying the gaps there, you need to find out, um, you need to read the abstract, you need to find out the conclusion or the future aspect of the study, and just for the future aspect there is generally gaps in between their sampling or their further potential of the study. So try to go over there. How to highlight the main methodology and research techniques. When you had done your own methodology or the other researchers' methodology, but in your you had made the changes in that technique or the research of your technique. So you just highlight what exactly had you done with the research changes. So these things to be keep in mind while writing your research. How to sum up? Sum up is generally the ideation or the formulation of the research. What exactly had you been doing while you were writing your research work? So I think basically basically when you are summing up all these techniques, all these order of the making, so try to have that in formulations, or please go for order of the writing for the sum up section. Thank you. Let's take some of the questions from this from the researchers. There are many other questions people are asking about. What are the steps involved in the making of the research paper writing? 3 steps involved: planning, research, and writing, and the fourth step is the revision. So try to follow up these kind of topics. What is the doing of the research? Basically, you are just analyzing your research work and your analogy of your working. So these things to be answered in that doing of your research. How to write your introduction. Introduction is basically how you are answering your research question, basically your analogy of your perspective of your vision, what exactly is your research question you want to answer. This is your introduction. What, how, and why you had taken the topic. So you are answering in that perspective only. So the next thing keep in mind is what is how to evaluate the credibility of the other researchers. Uh, Generally, how many the journal impact is basically your basically that helps in the credibility. While you are going for Google Scholar, just go for Google Scholar. Go for Google Scholar. Hold on. Just go for Google Scholar. Just find some of the keywords and just find the first page, the first coming up, the journal name and the publication. This is the journal which comes up first, and while you find out this is open access journal, let's find out what exactly is the impact factor of this journal. So this is a journal name, right? So go for the journal homepage. This is a journal, right? So just copy up and journal about. There is editorial policies, Ebola, and just go over here. Go for Scopus. Network is quite slow, so that's why. So this is check Scopus access. Yeah, you need your institution ID. I don't remember mine, so let's skip that part. Yeah, author not search sources. Yeah, here you find your journal name. You just enter your subject area. Likewise, I want to find a title. Enter your title. What was the title of the paper? Here I enter the title. Find sources. No sources available. Okay. So let's do something called this. Yeah. So let's find sources with this keywords only. So this is also not appropriate. So let's go for likewise this journal. This is the cancer, or the cited score is like this. Herein you can see the site score of this journal and the SGR, and um, here this is journal name. This is the this is the site score, and this is the SNIP. We'll discuss all these about in the next part. This is the journal impact factor. Let's do these. First quartile, third quartile apply. So, these are the first quartile journals. Let's look for the second quartile journals only. So these are the open access. Okay, so this is the site score of this journal, 1.7, and the highest percentile is 53%. This is the publication rate, of the acceptance rate, you can say. So these things to be answered accordingly. We'll discuss all these in the next slides, next webinar.